Hello, it's Jeanette with Amazing Paper Crafts. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm back with another video, and today is Saturday, so that it's time for Simply Sweet Saturday. And the sweet that I decided to work with today is called the Simply Elegant Sweet. And that sweet is a very simple sweet, which comes with a punch and stamp set as a bundle. It also comes with some designer series paper, and it comes 12 by 12, but I cut it down to 6 by 6 just for my convenience. Okay, and this is the background paper. It's very kind of monochromatic. It's got blacks and grays in it, and also very vanilla and white. But look at this foiled designs here. Very, very ornate, very elegant paper. Very, very nice paper to work with. So I'm going to be making an anniversary card today. And also this sweet comes with some trim, and it comes in the silver and the gold. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be making an anniversary card today, and I'm going to start out with a card base that measures 5.5 by 4 1/4, and I will be using my Stamparatus. And I already have my stamps positioned on here because I want to make, I'm going to be making the sentiment, which I'm going to be using True Love Stories Last Forever. And then on the inside of the card, I'm going to be stamping Happy Anniversary. So I'll be using this stamp here and this stamp for the outside of the card. So let me do that. I've already got this positioned on my Stamparatus just so that I wouldn't have to do any thinking. Okay, and like I said, this card measures 5.5 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to be putting it right here with a piece of very vanilla cardstock. And I've positioned this so that it just borders the sentiment. So what I'm going to be using is some basic gray ink, because that's the color that I'm going to be matching with. So I'm just tapping right here on the Stamparatus. Let me move this better in the camera. I'm tapping right here. Now I will be trimming this card down to place it on the card base, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it like so. If you're wondering, that's the other stamp set that I'm going to be using. I'm using my Stamparatus because I want to make sure I get a nice, good impression. And if it doesn't work out the first time, as long as you keep that position correctly, it'll work out okay. All right, now I'm going to flip this over this way, and I'm going to ink that up again. I tried to get this stamp, this little border stamp, as straight as I could on here. It might be just a tiny little bit off, but that's okay. Now I'm going to be stamping this side here. Making sure that it's all going to stamp really nicely. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that pretty? So my sentiment's going to go right in the center here of this card. So I'm going to flip this over where I have my sentiment, and I'm going to use some more basic gray. Now I have my magnets. I have this little magnet here. I guess I could use that too, but I have my long magnets underneath here. That's where they're stored. But I'm just going to go ahead and use this tiny little magnet here, and that is going to fit right in there. Just want to make sure that it's got a good impression. And there it is, right here. And the reason I stamped it off to the side is because I'm going to be punching out this punch with some gray cardstock, and I'm going to be heating, and I'm going to be doing some heat embossing with that. So let me move this aside. The next thing I need to do is add my designer series paper and my gold trim. So the first thing I want to do is lay down my gold trim. And I'll do that on both sides. I have it to cut a little bit longer than it needs to be, but that's okay. We'll be trimming that off. And I'm going to be placing this down with some seal adhesive. Yes, we're using seal adhesive, but we need to bring out our silicone craft sheet right here so that I can lay down the glue or the adhesive. And I'm just going to put a nice strip. Now these strips measure 1/2 inch by however long that was, I think. But I'm only going to be using just 5.5 inches of it. But I cut it a little bit longer because I want to make sure that I have enough when I lay it down. And I don't have to lay it down directly. You know, I can go beyond. But I just want to make sure. Here's what I'm talking about. I want to make sure that I have it enough to cover the edge and the sides right here. Okay. Now that looks a little bit thick right there, but don't worry, I'm going to be using some designer series paper to cover that up. So right now I'm going to be cutting this even with both sides here, and I'll be trimming it down just a little bit more later after I'm done decorating the front. Okay, and so I'm going to do the same on this side here. And now these pieces here measure 1 1/4 inch wide, and they do measure 6 inches for now, but I will be trimming them down. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that that is right on the edge of the paper, and you see how that narrows the gold part. So let me do that. Let me stick this down, and I'll be trimming the edges off of this too. Okay, now, isn't this pretty? We're not done yet. Oh, you know what? I need to put a little bit more adhesive right here. Just a little bit more because it's coming up. I didn't put enough adhesive on this part here. Okay, now we're good. Isn't that pretty? And so we're going to decorate the top, but what I want to do right now is trim this down so that I could place it right on the card base. And we are trimming this down. It's going to end up being a 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So right now I need to trim off about 1/8 of an inch. So that would make it 5, since it's 5 1/2 right now. If I trim it 1/8 of an inch on both sides, which is what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to trim a little bit off here, and I'll trim another 1/8 of an inch off on the other side to make it exactly 5 1/4. So I'm taking it to the 5 1/4 inch right there. Okay, and we're going to do the same. We're just going to take 1/8 of an inch off the top and the bottom, and right now it measures 4 1/4, so we're going to take it to 4 1/4. I mean 4 1/8 rather, and we're going to trim that, and then we're going to do the same on here, but we're taking it to the 4 inch right there. Okay, and that's how I get a nice even border all the way around. Now let me bring out my card base, which is a basic gray cardstock. This is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I've scored it at 4 1/4, and we're going to be placing this on here just like that. Okay, so let's do that first. Oh, I will need this, won't I? So I'm just going to use some seal adhesive again, and we're just going to put a couple of strips here to put it right on. Try to get a nice even border here. Let me move this out of the way so you can see. I'm going to try to get a nice even border all the way around if we can. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of basic gray cardstock, and I'm going to be doing some heat embossing, but I want to stamp this. I want to stamp this stamp here from this stamp set, this one here, and I want to also punch it out, but I want to heat emboss it with gold once I do that. So let me take my embossing buddy. Do that. Make sure that there's no static on this piece of cardstock. I'm going to take some Versamark, and I'm going to just ink this up really nicely with the Versamark. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of stamp it right here. Not too close to the edge. I don't want to rock this stamp set, and I want to stamp it down so that I get a nice impression. And I don't think you'll be able to see that. Oh yeah, maybe you could. It looks like a tone on tone kind of, or a little watermark. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out our gold embossing powder. This embossing powder comes in threes. You get the metallics or the regulars. The regular is, I believe, hold on a second, let me grab that. Okay. The regular embossing powder, or the basics rather, they come with the black, the clear, and the white. And then the metallics come with the silver, the copper, and the gold, and we're going to be using the gold today. So let me bring out a scrap piece of paper here. Okay, and I'm going to be sprinkling some of this embossing powder over here like that. Okay, and now let's put some of this back in. Some of it's going to fall on the scrap piece, which is okay. That. Okay, I've got a pretty good amount of embossing powder on here. Now I'm going to just shake this and pour this back in here. And embossing powder is going to be everywhere, and I'm okay with that. Let's put the cover back on here. No matter how much paper you have, you're going to have embossing powder everywhere. So I'm going to grab my heat gun, and I'll try to mute and speed this up so that you don't have to hear the loud noise of my heat gun. Okay, so we're going to just cool that off, and let's grab our punch. This is the, it's called the Elegant Tag Punch, and we're going to just punch this out. Nope, I have to cut off a little bit of the bottom here, I think. I punched it a little too far up. So we're just cutting a little bit off the bottom. So I want that to be kind of like where the flower is showing, like right there. Okay. Actually, I could even cut off a little bit more. Okay. So I want that whole flower to show. Okay. There it is right there. Okay. I'm going to punch that right there. Isn't that pretty? Okay, now let's, we're going to be placing it right here, but I want to put a little bit of this trim on here, this little gold trim. And I think I might tie a little bow just on the top of this little motif right here. So I'm just going to grab, about maybe 12 inches of thread. I might not even need that much, but might as well have a little bit more than not enough, right? So let's just tie a bow on here the best you can. I'm going to turn this way because I seem to be able to tie a bow upside down a little better than right side up. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just trim. That's why they call it trim. Alright, now let's cut this off a little bit right here. Okay, and right there. And then we're going to pop this up right here with dimensionals. So let's get out our dimensionals. Put about 4 dimensionals on here. Okay. Do I need 4? I don't really need 4, but I just put 4. And let's see. I kind of want it slanted a little bit. Yeah, I think I like it better when it's slanted just a little bit like that. Isn't that pretty? So let's work on the inside of the card, which is very, very simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to stamp it. Now this piece measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I will be laying this down here, and I'm going to stamp it with the Happy Anniversary, and I'll try to get it right in the center if I can. Okay. If it's a little too crooked, then I'll fix it with a label instead. That's what I do. I just stick a label in there and stamp it the way I wanted to stamp it, with the basic gray. Pay attention next time, right? Sometimes you just gotta pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, so we're stamping Happy Anniversary. Try to get it nice and straight and reasonably in the middle. Okay, it's a little bit crooked, but I'm okay with that. Now I want to take this and I want to put this in here, but before I do, I also want to be putting this here on the inside, just so that that upside is not so plain. And with a little strip that came off of that, I'm going to be placing it down here on the edge. So let me do that. Let me bring out my silicone craft sheet again, and I'm going to be putting some seal adhesive on the bottom. You can use some Tombow Mono multi-purpose glue if you want to. Okay, it's going to go right on the edge here. Come on, sticky, sticky. This is very, very sticky. Okay, got that right on the edge there. And I'm going to stick this over here. I know it seems to be a shame that I'm hiding all that beautiful paper, but look at the back side of this paper is so pretty, and it's so I don't know, it kind of matches the vanilla, very vanilla cardstock better. That's why I chose that one. So let's put a very, very thin border of this all the way around our card. Okay, and we're sticking it down right there. And then I want to take that stamp, this little floral stamp, and I want to take my basic gray, and I would like to stamp this right here on the corner. Move that out of here. Before I stick it down, I'm just stamping it right here on the corner, and it's okay that it's coming on there. And I want to stamp right on the top corner too, just the flowers, just to give it a little bit of decoration on the inside. Doesn't that look nice? Now we're going to go ahead and stick that in here. Let me close this up, move that out of the way, and we will use our seal adhesive again to stick this. All right. And it's going to have a nice small, like 1/16 of an inch border all the way around, or it should. Just try to get it as even as you can. Okay, and there you go. Now you can put sequins, or you can even put some of those gilded gems on here, but I think there's enough gold on here to make this card sparkle nicely. Isn't that pretty? This is going to be a really nice anniversary card. Who's got a golden anniversary coming up soon? I think in about a year or two, my older sister might have a golden anniversary, and she might appreciate this card. So I hope that you like this card. I hope that I taught you something. I hope that you will try this with the Simply Elegant suite of products by Stampin' Up, and all the tools and supplies are going to be in the description of the video. So go to my website too, www.geoamazingpapercrafts.stampinup.net, and do some shopping there too. So once again, I'm Jeanette with Geoamazing Paper Crafts, and you make it a great day. Bye bye.